Hi, my name's Phil and I like talking about politics, and throughout the Article 50 process of Brexit it has been obvious from the start that Theresa May has been capitulating to the ERG, the shadowy party within a party that has been described by more moderate Conservatives as UKIP members that wanted power. UKIP was never for those who wanted to get things done. It was only ever a protest group. This is why it never turned the huge donations it received into electoral success. The people who really did want the UK cut off from the world knew that they needed political power to do so. So they joined the Conservative Party. If they were already in the party, they stayed there and worked towards that goal. In the wake of the Brexit referendum results, Aaron Banks, the man behind the illegal huge donation to the Leave campaign from foreign sources of unknown but suspected origin, called for UKIP members to leave the party and infiltrate the Conservatives. They needed to take over the party and rule Britain. And sure enough, when the referendum was over, the more intelligent members of UKIP deserted it, leaving only the loonies and the thugs behind. One such man, John Conway, who didn't leave it immediately after that referendum, con being the operative word in his case, ran as the UKIP candidate for Beaconsfield during the last general election. He was also a local UKIP councillor, as well as the chair of the local branch. Recently, John Conway left UKIP and joined the Conservative Party. Now, why would someone who'd been the head of the local UKIP party machine and even stood for office in the National Executive Council leave the party to join another? As Aaron Banks had been suggesting, it was all about taking over the Conservative Party and displacing moderate members. To this end, Leave.EU have been continuing its campaign of targeting people via social media to push propaganda against pro-Remain MPs. I received a promoted post on Twitter myself last week telling me how to take action against my MP. Now, Beaconsfield is the constituency of Conservative MP Dominic Grieve. He faced a vote of no confidence in his local party and lost by a significant margin. The move was prompted by John Conway, who turned up to the vote with a great many people that had never been seen in the local association, specifically to vote against the confidence motion. Now, how many of these people were riled up by Conway and how many had only joined the Conservatives specifically to carry out this active infiltration, I don't know. But the fact is that there is a particular problem that the Conservative Party have. Their membership is very low. They're failing to attract many younger members. That makes them an easy target for infiltration. Now, Dominic Grieve is a Remainer and is seeking a second referendum. He also is that rarest of beasts in the House of Commons, an honest politician. The strength of his character may be judged by the fact that when news of this vote went out, politicians from various parties, not just his own, leapt to his defence. Now, there are only two occasions when a politician praises the decency of another in a different party, especially when it's a very different party. One is when they've died, and two is when it's so undeniably true that to not accept it would seem ridiculous. Now, don't get me wrong, I could certainly attack his voting record in Parliament as I could for others such as Ken Clarke or Michael Heseltine, but that's because I strongly disagree with their politics. But they are honest in that they genuinely believe in them. Not out of any sense of corruption, but because they think that that's actually best. And you don't hear these people making threats against others who do not share their views. George Osborne, the former Chancellor, if we can call a man who's so bad with the economy such, pointed out that this move had been orchestrated by a man who had opposed the Conservatives in the last election. He also noted that the Tory leadership should prevent deselection, which is a point worth making. Just because his local party voted against him in what you would assume is an effort to ensure he does not represent them at the next election, the party leadership can intervene. Now, it was always very divisive when they do, of course. The local party are not, for reasons that are obvious, going to take kindly to the top brass, already seen as ineffectual in their own party as well as elsewhere, telling them who they can and cannot elect as their candidate. But the chairman of the Conservative Party, Brandon Lewis, has said that they still support Mr Grieve. But the process of taking over the Conservatives has jumped up another notch. If the ERG managed to get one of their candidates elected to be the next leader of the Conservative Party, and remember the way it works, once the parliamentary party have decided on their candidates, usually a couple of candidates, it's put to the party membership to select which one they want. And former activists of UKIP, not the Conservatives, as well as far-right Tories who were always in the party, are going to keep up their local campaigns. then the party will inevitably lurch much more to the right. Not just because in this case a weak leader is given in to them, but because it'll actually be who they are. Now, had Theresa May faced down this destructive influence in her own party, they'll have been forced to either sit down like good little dogs or turn tail from the party altogether. Very messy for Parliament, which would have had to run through yet another general election to sort it out, but it would have been dealt with, albeit with some damage done to the party. But that's no skin off my nose, is it? Now, as it is, if a split does come, it will be probably the more moderates leaving. Perhaps even joining the independent group, which now has a party name. Not Change.org, as one of their members, Anna Soubry, claimed in the House, to much embarrassment. In fact, they may be taking action against her now, but Change UK. Maybe this is the poison that's needed to cure British politics. By taking over the Conservatives, the party is almost always in government, but they might actually make themselves completely unelectable. One criticism I always have of my fellow members in Labour is that we don't represent the bulk of the people who vote Labour, and more needs to be done to appeal to those. Well, the Conservatives have a fraction of the membership of the Labour Party, and they certainly don't represent the bulk of Tory voters either. But battle lines have been drawn, and if a general election is imminent, we might see an escalation in this sort of action as well. Much, as I say, will depend upon who follows Theresa May as leader of the Conservative Party. So I hope you found that video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe for further content please, and click the bell notification as well. And until next time, I'll see you later.